taking off in a loaded aircraft, the aircraft's going to be a lot slower to accelerate. It's going to have a lot higher unstick speed and a much shallower climb out. So have a good look at your escape routes so as you know in advance where you're going to turn to clear all the obstacles. If you have to turn downwind, make it a very shallow angle of bank. Have a good look before you turn. Make sure there's no obstacles downwind. You're going to have a very flat climb out. And remember, you're going to have a much higher stalling speed. When flying in hilly terrain, always check for obstructions, especially power lines running across from tops of hills and through gullies. Flying in undulating country, always fly across the hills so as you leave yourself an escape route. You never want to be caught flying into a blind gully without an escape route back onto flat country. Flying up hills, always fly up the lesser slopes but fly up the ridges. Fly at a mean constant height except for large depressions where we follow the contours. Keep a good lookout for obstacles as they are below the skyline in the hilly terrain and very hard to see. And we fly down the steeper slopes. Always remember we fly up the ridges and down the valleys. Flying on the lee side of a hill, we have increased turbulence, we have downdrafts. With a lot more turbulence, it could drag us into the hill. This is the reason that we don't fly on the lee side of a hill. Tracking to the field. After takeoff, we want to select the safest track possible to take it from our airstrip to the field that we're going to be top dressing. The main thing is never to try and out-climb any rising ground and try and cruise at a safe height above all the obstacles. Now here we're looking at rising ground here now, but we're not going to try and out-climb. We're going to stop on the slope of the hill so we've got a getaway out to our left all the time. I think we've got to watch, of course, going along the side of the hill here, is that we don't get caught on the lee side of the hill. In any case, with any wind blowing, we're going to have turbulence, whether it's on the lee side or the upwind side. As for the low flying sequences, you'll remember lee side we get a lot of downdraft. Now here we've got to cross a gully. We cross it on an angle that allows us a getaway out to the left. We have some higher ground in front of us, and before we go into the higher ground we make sure we've got adequate clearance above the ground before we go turning right into the hill. There's a lot of wind here, and I'm stopping on the upwind side of this gully and using the updrafts to help me cross over at the lowest point that I'm coming to now. Now turning around and going back down the hill and heading back towards the paddock. What we look at here is the shortest and fastest route back to the paddock, providing it's a safe run back, minimum power and maximum airspeed, and make sure that we do actually keep the engine's temperatures within limit. This is the same hill that we looked at going up before and turned away. Now normally what we can do is fly down the hill and see we're descending at 500 feet a minute by the vertical speed indicator over to here. It would mean that we need a 500 feet rate of climb to make it up. And the rate of climb that we had on the way out was about 200 feet. So in actual fact we would not have been able to climb up this hill. Remember on the inbound flight that we're on now, there's a time to relax, but nevertheless don't get too relaxed and not keep an eye out for obstacles. And it's also a good time to check any other treatment area that you may have to do on your next run. And we'll come back in and land.
This aircraft is tracking across a ridge at an angle to allow it to turn away should it experience problems. Always remember, fly up ridges and down gullies, but make sure not to exceed airspeed regulations on downhill legs. Flying uphill, always be on guard for the effect of false horizons, such as this aircraft would be experiencing now.